So crack and cocaine withdrawals are usually, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. The come down can be very hard. If you don't have any more of it, you can become very emotional, very angry, and you can experience psychosis. Hello everybody, my name is Pej. I'm a drug interventionist. I specialize in helping people with drug addiction, alcoholism, and mental health. Today we're going to be talking about what's the difference between crack and cocaine. And I love talking about this because I did them both extensively. The difference is there is no difference. They're really one and the same. Crack is just a more crystallized form. It is cooked up and it comes in sort of like a rock form. It has variations in color. One makes you feel almost identical to the other. They are not long lasting. When somebody does crack or they do regular powdered cocaine, it's short-lived and they continue to want more and more of it because it definitely is euphoric and makes you get really high, and it's a stimulant, so you go off in two different directions. Now, cocaine has always been known as the rich man's drug, and crack can actually be interpreted as being the poor man's cocaine. My experience with both of them is that I started doing cocaine when I was 16 years old, which is not normal for a 16-year-old. I just happened to know somebody that was getting it, and we would do it and go out and party all night. It made for drinking nights much longer. Like you could definitely, it was long lasting when you drank and did the stimulants that were produced, the effect that was produced by the crack, the coke, just the coke itself. And then we got turned on to crack because somebody showed us how to cook it up. And basically we would use baking soda and a spoon and water, and we would cook it up and end up doing crack. And definitely that was highly addictive. We couldn't get enough of it, and we kept going and going and going. The difference is when you're doing cocaine, obviously it's interpreted as sort of like a party drug, so you want to just be in like a party setting, depending on if you're in a hotel room, in a nightclub. And when you're doing crack, usually the difference between the partying lifestyle, the cocaine life, when you do crack, it sort of just becomes this thing that you want to do by yourself. You don't want to deal with anybody. You become highly paranoid. Sometimes you can look out the window and wonder if people are out to get you. You think you hear sirens. You think people are coming after you. It could be the police. It could be anybody. You're not exactly sure, and you don't want to deal with anybody. I don't think one is more dangerous than the other. I think they're pretty equal. I mean, they both make you have the same effect. Definitely, crack and cocaine can make your heart blow out of your chest, depending on how much of it you do. There are people that have had heart attacks from it. There's people that have had psychotic breaks, depending on how much they've done. But I think equally they can both affect you physically, mentally, emotionally, and definitely spiritually. So I don't think that one is worse than the other. So crack and cocaine withdrawals are usually, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. The come down can be very hard. If you don't have any more of it, you can become very emotional, very angry, and you can experience psychosis. So some of the effects that I've seen both with my own personal usage and with other people that were around me when we were at a very young age, and we had just started doing it at 16, we were of the mindset that we're just going to be doing it tonight, just for one night, like a Friday night. So we'd go out, we'd go out on the town, we'd go to a nightclub, and we'd also already have our cocaine ready, and we would do it, and then we would go and have, so we thought, a lot of fun, and it felt like a lot of fun, but we would drink all night long, and then resort back to a hotel room and just keep doing lines all night long. The only way that I ever did it was I snorted cocaine. I know that later on when we caught wind of somebody that happened to have it, we then learned, because back then you didn't have Google or anything to look up things and learn how to do it. We learned it from actually a guy that was our dealer for cocaine, and he told us that if you cook it up a certain way, it can turn into a crystallized rock form, and then you can smoke it. And so we would get this glass tube and basically smoke crack, and again, that was a whole different animal. I started seeing the guy that I was doing it with become highly paranoid, and he didn't want to deal with anybody, and he trusted me for being in the room, but he was like the window guy. Like he would be over by the blinds and just looking out the window, and he would constantly say, "Shh, do you hear it?" And I'm like, "Hear what?" And he said, "I hear sirens. I think the cops are coming." I'm like, why would the cops come to our hotel room? It doesn't even make sense. So the problem with crack is that a lot of people that become addicted to it, it becomes their everything. It becomes their lifestyle. They'll do anything for it. They'll steal, they'll rob, they'll cheat, they'll thieve to be able to get crack, and they'll sell their mother's jewelry, and it becomes a way of life. And if you go to certain cities, like metropolitan cities, where there are people that live in certain projects, you'll see that there's often people that are walking the streets aimlessly because they are, as some would call them, full-blown crack addicts, crackheads, and they've lost all sense of reality because they are now just living to just get high off of crack. They will perform sexual acts and favors for people to get just a little bit of money so that they can get their fix and do more crack. So crack addiction is real. A lot of people will become addicted to it, and I've seen a lot of people recover from it too. There are people that actually come back from the gates of hell, which is crack. Just not knowing that they've been dancing with the devil the whole time, and wanting to change their lives and realizing that this has consumed their whole life. I've seen mothers and fathers that had children and families that became full-blown crackheads and had forgotten everything and just put everything aside. And after extensive years of using crack cocaine, they then come back and get their lives back. Now, there are people that recreationally, if that even means a thing, have been cocaine addicts that I've seen do coke just on the weekends. And, to each their own. I mean, if that's what works for you and you can manage your life, then so be it. But I've also seen, here's the problem, that I've seen people purchase cocaine, regular cocaine that's now been laced with fentanyl. More recently, I had heard about somebody that went down to Mexico and they thought that they were getting some cocaine from somebody, and you never know what you get down there. I mean, you don't know who you're getting it from. Everybody's corrupt, from the drug dealers to the pharmacies to the federalities even. I've actually seen federalities doing cocaine in a nightclub. But this particular individual had gotten some cocaine, and they ended up overdosing and dying because it was laced with fentanyl. Back in the day when we would go down to Mexico, Mexico was like the spot. Like when we were under the age of 18, you knew that you could drink all night long. There was no last call for alcohol, and obviously once you get into that cocaine lifestyle, like that it's addictive. Like I remember hearing it in health class when I was in junior high school that if you try cocaine one time, you will become addicted. I mean, they put it in Coca-Cola, for Christ's sake. So I remember the first time that I ever had cocaine in front of me, I knew like right then, they taught us this in school, and I might get addicted, and sure enough I did it, and here I was, full-blown addict. Like I was all into it. So when we went down to Mexico on one of our escapades, as I would call it, I remember being in this nightclub and walking into the very back, and it was a really dark lit nightclub. Like in the back, there was nobody yet. They were just barely opening. Like it was like probably around maybe 9 or 10 p.m. at night. And I was with a couple of people. I was with a high school friend and his older brother, and we met a guy in the club, and he had cocaine, and he ended up putting some out for us on this tray, and the next thing you know, like we're doing lines of it, and the federalities came in. And there was security in the club that saw us doing cocaine in the back of this club, and then all of a sudden the federalities came in and they started to approach us, and so we quickly brushed it off. And the guy that we met in the club, he took off one way, and then my friend's older brother, he went down the corridor and went into the bathroom. And so me and my friend, we were scrambling. Now we've done a bunch of coke, so we're more paranoid than ever, because we've now actually seen people coming after us, and we tried to make a run for it. We went out this way, and we walked down this corridor and saw these federalities coming in, so we went the other way, and we went and looked over this terrace, this balcony terrace, and I looked down and saw more federalities on the other side of that coming up, they were going to come upstairs into the club, I feel like they probably got called. So we went back down this one hallway, went to the bathroom, and just as we are about to go into the bathroom, I see that my friend's brother and that actual original guy that had the cocaine were both back there, and the cops had them against the wall. And they had pulled the cocaine out of the guy's pocket that was giving us coke. And they were basically yelling at him and telling him, this is what you're doing and you can't do this, this is illegal. I'm thinking, this is Mexico, it's Tijuana, what's legal here, right? It's like a third world country. There is no laws, at least to my knowledge. But regardless of the fact, these two cops literally took this guy's cocaine, put it on top of the sink, and broke it up and started doing lines themselves. And I'm standing outside of this bathroom, and I just like peer in and happen to notice them doing this and thinking, and I remember seeing like they still have these two guys against the wall with their hands against the wall as like one of the cops is doing the coke and the other ones are frisking them for other stuff and taking their money. And the second that they got their money and all that, they let them go and they took off. So I couldn't believe like these two cops were actually doing the cocaine too and took their money. And that's, you know, one of the craziest stories that I remember in my cocaine escapades and rendezvous. So what somebody should do if they or their loved one is struggling with crack or cocaine addiction is definitely get help. There is help out there. If you see somebody is sort of demonic, if they're like a mutant kind of just walking around aimlessly, and it could possibly be that they're on crack, or if you've got a crack addiction or a coke addiction and you really want to stop, there are ways of getting help. You can always contact me, and I would love to be able to show you how to get the help that you need. So how can you tell if somebody you love is on cocaine? Usually they are very sweaty. They lose a lot of weight. Often they don't have any hunger. Like there's no sex drive. Food is not something that's even appealing to them. And they're irritable. They're angry. They can, if they don't have their fix, if they don't have their cocaine, they will be somebody that becomes very unpleasant. You can't be around them. And you can kind of tell, you can tell by their sunken eyes if they haven't slept much or they sleep super heavy, and then the next day they're seeking stuff. You can also tell if things are missing, if electronics or jewelry is missing, that either they're spending their money on it or your money on it, or somehow stealing, or they've gotten into trouble because they're losing their job at work or whatnot.